So I think that's a really important point. Like, those elephants in the room are not just business strategy elephants. They can be organizational structure, they can be culture, and I think with all of them, that am I crazy is that Cassandra thing. Like, she ultimately went insane. Right? And so that's not a good feeling. And so when you're feeling that, that's exactly one of those things that you need to get help around. And sometimes, you know, if it's kind of the same set of things where you know it's a problem, and if you bring it back to the business around, this is affecting us and here's why, it may, you know, and you have those data points and you can bring those forward, it's really helpful if you can frame it around, we need to change because. And if it's a cultural thing, you can tie it back to, I mean, there's nothing more valuable than your team, right? And to be able to bring all the perspectives from your team to bear. It can happen with gender issues. It can happen with extroverts and introverts. It can, you know, and so really want to encourage, you know, the people who have that feeling to speak up. So I think part of it is leading a culture where there's nothing undiscussable. If you just start there with there's nothing that should be off the table. There's no taboo subjects. There's nothing that as a team we can't discuss. It makes it easier for other people to bring these up, and it also makes it easier for you to be listened to when you have that sense. Is there another?
I have a question. I'm working with a group who are trying to do a campaign to raise awareness about a certain issue, and they asked me to volunteer some time at these weekly committee meetings that they have, and my expertise is social media marketing. That's why they brought me in. And they have very little experience with any kind of social media platforms. It's a group of attorneys.
Not known for social media.
Yeah, exactly. And so I've been working with them for about 6 weeks now. And what I thought is the strategy that they were thinking of using, I thought was going to fail, was not going to be a successful strategy. So when I was trying to explain why and everything, because there was such a lack of knowledge, I thought what I need to do first is sort of explain some of the different platforms and how they can be used and give some examples of how people have done successfully, blah, blah, blah. So I did that. But there's one older man who is definitely, who gets turned to as being the decision maker, even though it's not, you know, there's no roles supposedly. My tendency, and I've done this before, is that at this point I go, okay, I've shared my information, I've given you, and if you don't want to listen to it, I'm out of here. Like, I'm done, because I'm just volunteering, right? But that's not necessarily there's a point where where I can grow in. You know what I mean?
I totally know what you mean. It's really easy, and especially if you are, it's easy, I mean, it's easy to do it both if you're consulting or if you're volunteering, or the thing that comes up a lot is, well, it's not my role, right? If you're internal, it's really common because it's exactly this. Like, how do you, especially in something where you're working cross-functionally, like it's something that you're coming at from an area of expertise, or you're seeing, just because you have the insight from however you have it, to do that. One of the things that, sort of a trick that I've started to use in that over the years that works is setting up, you just make it super objective. So it's really hard a lot of times to explain if nobody knows what you're talking about to begin with, right? And so you just keep trying to explain it, and then you get to that point where you're like, I'm out, right? And that's just a really common, like, I'll try really hard, I'll keep trying, it's not working, I quit, right? And it's just this really common, like, work, stop working. And a way to overcome it is to, instead of trying to explain it, work on getting buy-in around what does success look like, and we'll do these things, and then we'll reevaluate. Because if we can all agree that this is, you know, the bare minimum of success, and it can't be the top of success, because when it's top of success, then people will be like, oh, it's a little bit less, but that was a really strong metric, and it's a little bit less, and then you're stuck in the good enough place. Pick the bottom metric, right? So the least amount of success we can have in this is this. And if we don't hit that, let's all agree that we need a different strategy. That works well, because then you take all of the stuff off the table, and it puts you in a position where you can say, look, none of us know what's going to happen. I have concerns about this. These are why I have concerns. If we're all want to move forward with this strategy, let's just identify when we agree as a team that we need plan B. And that helps, because if you do it in advance, it also takes all of the ego and all of the emotion out of it. You have to do it in advance, though. You have to sort of say, before we're halfway into this, let's just pick what that metric is. Because if you do it too far in, then what happens is people start changing the metric. So you just have to, you have to do it, you have to get buy-in to that. And it's really easy to get buy-in to there because everybody believes it's going to be 10x that, right? And so that's a way of doing it. And then you can start, when you hit that, and you know you will, so do it quickly enough too, right? So fail fast. Then you can start explaining, well, here's why I think this happened, so let's just try these other things, rather than doing it before it happens. Because it's not a good feeling, right? It's not a good feeling to be all enthusiastic about it and then just suddenly not caring. But people will get on board if people don't like to fail. Right, and so they'll come around a lot more quickly if you can make that a safe thing to do too, and a team thing to do, and not you versus. That was a good question.
Right, let's give Donna a hand.